Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are now on the verge of a major legal battle.
The motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Both Republicans and Democrats voting to hold the pair in contempt of Congress for failing to appear for a deposition as part of an investigation into the actions of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The Clintons' testimony is critical to understanding Epstein's sex trafficking network and the ways he sought to curry favor and influence to shield himself from scrutiny.
The Clintons have not been accused of any specific wrongdoing and said they have nothing of substance to offer the committee. But Bill Clinton's name and picture have repeatedly popped up in the slow release of the files. And even some Democrats believe the couple should appear to answer questions.
I do think it's important that we say unequivocally that regardless of who is in the Epstein files, regardless of what party they are, the truth should come out.
The next stage would be a full vote of the House, which could lead to a prosecution by the Department of Justice. But Chairman James Comer said there is still time for them to comply. Is there still an opportunity for the Clintons to negotiate some sort of satisfaction of the subpoena, even though you've taken this step with contempt?
There's always an opportunity.
The contempt vote comes as the House prepares to hear from former special counsel Jack Smith, who is set to testify in an open hearing on his attempts to prosecute President Trump for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election and mishandling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Republicans have accused Smith of being part of an effort to weaponize the DOJ against Trump for political reasons. But in a closed-door hearing last month, Smith said he was following the evidence and the rule of law.
If asked whether to prosecute a former president based on the same facts today, I would do so regardless of whether that president was a Republican or a Democrat.
And Smith has no plans to back down in today's public hearing. In his prepared opening statement obtained by NBC News, Smith will tell the committee that he's, quote, not a politician and say that, quote, our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal activity. Craig?
Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill for us. Ryan, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.